Good morning to you. This is Bill Bullock, and we are coming to you live from Biblical Lifestyle Center in Texarkana, USA. We have a joyful journey to undertake, an adventure to participate in. This is the beginning. This is the first day. This is the departure point for Torah Cycle 5785. 5785 is the year. This is the year of coming back to science, to awe and wonder, basically. The Torah Cycle 5785 is beginning today as we roll back the scroll from the studies we were doing in Deuteronomy. We go back all the way to Genesis 1:1 and what is called in the English language, in the beginning. This series, this year, I invite you to join with us for the entire year, or as much of it as you wish or as you are able to participate in. We'll be here, the Holy One willing, every Saturday morning, every Shabbat morning, at least in Central Standard Time, as where we are. And we'll be here talking about the Torah. Now, we have a certain theme each year with the Torah studies, and that differentiates them. And it's the signs and the seasons of the times that we live in. And last year, it was the returning pilgrims and prodigals and reservists reporting for duty. That was the idea. It was foisted upon us basically about what happened on the first day of the Torah cycle last year, which is called Simchat Torah in the traditions. The world knows it as October 7th. And that was when the war began. Last year, 5784, was a year of warfare in Israel, warfare in the Middle East, warfare in the world, warfare in the streets, warfare at the colleges, warfare in the economy, warfare in the political arena. It was a year of warfare. And 5785 is a year of returning to the solid foundations and childlike faith and awe and wonder. And so I call the series we're doing this year, and hopefully I'll remember to introduce it each week, as Walking in the Light. We are going to learn about, we're going to focus on walking in the light. That's the topic, that's the heading, that's the title of the series. The year-long series of delving into the Creator of the universe's instruction manual for life on planet Earth, mortal life, lived in this age, in this world, under these circumstances, in this fleshly body, with our fleshly mind, and with all the trials and tribulations, with all the temptations and all the distractions and all the seductions of this world. We need a life instruction manual, a manual for a life well lived in the mortal body, in this day and this season. And that's the Torah, and that's why I call it Walking in the Light. For the mitzvah, the instruction of the Holy One, is a candle or is a lamp. And the Torah, his Torah, is light. So we will be walking in the light. We will be learning the disciplines of walking in the light. We will be embracing the beauty and the wonder and the awe and the childlike glory of walking in the light of the Holy One, even in the midst of the darkness of the world around us. So welcome to Walking in the Light, 5785. And the subheading that I've chosen for this year's studies are, after Walking in the Light, discovering the secret wisdom that's encoded in Torah's timeless stories. I'll unpack that with you a little bit, but let's go back over it again. The main topic is walking in the light, and you are invited to walk with me, to walk with us, as we will learn to walk in the light of the Creator of the universe that He has designed for us. The second part of it is, the subheading is, discovering the secret wisdom encoded in Torah's timeless stories. Let's talk about the secret wisdom aspect of things. Secret wisdom is not some sort of mystical knowledge that exists in a few. The idea of secret wisdom is what was talked about by Job in Job 12:12, and by Daniel in verses, several verses, but particularly Daniel 2:22, by Yeshua, the Messiah, in Luke 8:10. There's a parallel verse in Mark, where he talks about the secret wisdom or the divine mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. And then we talk about Shaul of Tarsus also spoke about this secret wisdom, and he called it mysteries, divine mysteries. He said we are stewards of the mysteries of the Creator of the universe, of the Holy One. English translations say of God. We are stewards of the mysteries of God, and stewards must be faithful. And then in Colossians 1:27. So there's these different passages I will not take time to read. You can write them down if you wish and go back and look at them. They're just samples of the things that we're talking about here. The secret wisdom is not esoteric knowledge that comes to those who are indoctrinated in some cult. Secret wisdom is the fact that the Holy One has had a plan all along, and he has involvement and engagement behind the scenes of the world's events, and he invites us to commune with him and talk with him in that secret realm, in that special realm, and receive instructions and guidance from him, as well as encouragement, comfort, and restoration from him in those realms. So the secret wisdom that is encoded within the timeless stories of Torah. What makes a story timeless? We're saying that the stories in Torah, in the first 5 books of the Bible, in the fountainhead of the great river of revelation that flows throughout the entire Bible, Rid Hadashah included, and the prophets included, in the writings, and the Proverbs, and the Psalms included, but also that its foundation point, at its genesis point, is the Torah, and that's the purest form. That's where the most divine speech, divine utterance is found in the first 5 books of the Torah. So we're going to go to what makes these things that the Holy One has spoken, what makes them timeless. They're stories, you see. They're not laws as we think of it in the Western world. They're not history stories. They're not supposed to be fully comprehensive details of what happened in the world or in the past, or to get us to the point where we are at the present time. They're not that. What they are is stories told by a beloved father figure. Our Creator, who loves us, is telling us stories. It's like we're at our grandfather or grandmother's house, and it comes down, and we finally get quiet, and we say, "Grandfather, Zaida, tell us a story. Tell us the story of how we came to be who we are. Tell us the story of what our life is supposed to look like and will look like. Tell us who we're going to become. Tell us what we're here on earth for." Timeless stories. What makes stories timeless? Well, they're our world stories. They're stories that could happen, or that we sense could happen in our lifetimes, in our lives, in our world. Even if they're a little different than the normal thing, and even if they seem to be set in a different time frame, we hear a story like the story of Abraham, as it's called in the Western world, and we say, that could happen to me. That feels like it has happened to me. It is happening to me. Same thing with regard to the stories of Yaakov, Jacob, and the stories of Yitzhak, Isaac, and the stories of Joseph, Yosef. All these stories are timeless stories. What could happen to Bnei Israel, how we could be in bondage in Egypt and under a cruel Pharaoh. And the Holy One could speak to us and awaken us from our sadness and our depression and our terrible estate and give us hope for the future. This could happen. This is not some Star Wars stuff or some science fiction stories. These are real stories about real people with real issues that we know we are facing in life. Real questions that they have about life and its purposes. These are real stories. These are timeless stories because they could happen in any generation, and they appeal to every generation. Now, the thing about the stories, you have to remember, is stories are selective narratives, not history books. They're not designed to tell you all the details. And people who are obsessive compulsive about details, people who are cynics, they will come out and say, they didn't tell us this, so it must not be true because they didn't. No, a story picks out the selective details that are necessary to the telling of the story and won't overburden the story. And so the Holy One has chosen selective aspects of things to tell us about. It's not a complete story of the world. It's not a complete science of the world. It's not designed to be that. These are stories to tell us what human beings need to know to live a well-lived life in this in this mortal body, in this fallen world. So they're selective narratives chosen by the storyteller for effect and for mood and for context. And there will be omitted facts, details. So as we start our series this year, Walking in the Light, as we talk about these mysteries, the secret wisdom that's encoded in these timeless stories, let me turn your attention to where we want to wind up. And that's the words of Psalm 119:97. And this is what it says, the psalmist says in Psalm 119:97. You might want to mark it or write it down. Here's how he says it. He says, "Oh, how I love your Torah, your instruction manual for life on planet Earth. Oh, how I love your Torah. It is my meditation all the day." That's what Torah is for us. It is not some outdated book. It is not some replaced covenant or obsolete covenant. It is not divided into things like ceremonial laws and moral laws. It's not. Those are theologians making up stuff out of their own heads. It's not real. What this is the stories, the things the Holy One, the Creator of the universe, says and knows we need to know in order to live a well-lived life in our mortal bodies, in our fallen world. So this time around, in year 5785 from creation, as we focus on returning to the basics and to awe and wonder and childlike faith in the Creator, as we return to His Torah and let it be our light, and we say with the psalmist, "Oh, how I love your Torah. It is my meditation all the day." The question looms before us: how can we interact with this ancient text, this inspired volume of wisdom, stories? How can we interact with it and its author in a way that will enhance both the value and the impact of the minutes and the hours and the days and the seasons and the years that we are spending on earth? How can we interact with the Torah in 5785, the year from creation, in ways that will maximize our experience upon the earth and our impact upon the world and the ecosystem the Creator has designed? So, think about it for a few seconds as to what you want out of life, and what you think is important in life, and what mark you would like to leave upon the world, what mark you think you were created to leave upon the world. What impact were you designed to have? What footprint were you designed to leave? So, and ask yourself this: how can and how will you put the discipleship life protocols, the life lessons that Torah contains, to maximal use this year? How will you use these things to enhance your service to your fellow man, your service to your family members, your service to your bloodline, your service to your community, your service to the region in which you live and the geographical space you occupy? How will you put these disciplines, these disciple life skill protocols, to maximal use in these worlds? And how will you do so in ways that will impact positively the people and the places that you go to and you meet with? And that He puts us, He being the Creator, puts us in a position to influence for good. So I have hinted at something, that this approach to Torah and the life manual in 5785 is going to not be a theological discourse. It's not going to be religion. It's not going to be Judaism. It's not going to be Christianity. It's not going to be Islam. It's not going to be Confucius. It's not going to be any form of religion you've ever heard of before. This is the Creator of the universe saying, lay aside all that for a few moments, and let's just talk a few moments every week about my plan for your life to be well lived on this life and on this earth. This is not going to be a how to get to heaven manual or a discussion. This is not going to be a how to avoid going to hell and being punished for sin motive. Those things are all involved in our story, but that's not the substance of the story. This is the story approach. We're using the idea that the Holy One designs to teach us through stories how to have a relationship with Him, with each other, and with the world He created. How to do so at multiple levels. because stories are relationship focused, not fact focused. There are facts in them, but they're relationship focused. And the idea of a story is to reach the hearer of the story at multiple levels, not just primarily or even necessarily intentionally at the logic or reason functions of the mind, although that is engaged. We will engage the mind in its fallen state. We will engage our human minds and try to make some sense of the story, of the things that lead to the story and the things that are included in the story. But it's not about that. It's deeper levels of the heart, soul, and spirit of what the Holy One's trying to reach with these stories. And therefore, he's going to combine a series of different kinds of language. He's going to combine literal language that is going to engage and kickstart the process in the, we call it the nephesh, the mind, the will, the emotions. It's called the soul in the English language in most translations. He's going to engage this soul, this mind, and your will and your emotions with certain literal language, eyewitness accounts, fact-finder reports, anecdotes of personal experience, research findings, studied analyses, genealogies, chronological review of events, warnings, commands. He's going to use numbers to ground you in literal language. The first day, the second day, the third day, all through the Torah, he will use numbers to ground you and appeal to your nephesh and to your mind, your will, and emotions. But they will also include much figurative language, because he wants to engage more than your mind, will, and emotions, more than your nephesh. He wants to engage the God-breathed soul within you, spirit within you, the neshama that he breathed into Adam in Genesis 2:7, and he breathed into Adam the breath of his own life, his own life force. This neshama is a living, eternal spirit that dwells within these mortal bodies. It is connected through the body, through the nephesh, through the mind, will, and emotions. But the neshama is an eternal, and it will live beyond us. It continues to live. It is a part of eternal life, and we just need to engage the neshama to engage eternal life. We'll hear stories we'll hear stories about that. So he engages literal language to engage our nephesh and figurative language to engage our neshama. What kind of things are involved in figurative language? What is he trying to talk to? How does he apply and draw our neshama involved? He uses mashalim in Hebrew, parables in English, parables. Stories that go beyond what our mind can reason out and go beyond our logical capacities, our inductive reasoning, our deductive reasoning, go beyond fact. It goes to the idea of there's drawing something. A sower went forth to sow a seed, our Mashiach taught us. And the idea of you can't even get yourself into the picture of it other than just engage in your mind, and all of a sudden you sense there's something at work. There's the law of sowing and reaping, all sorts of things are happening in your neshama, awakening eternal thoughts and eternal things. So he uses parables, or mashlim. He uses metaphors. He uses similes. He uses analogies. He uses euphemism, or like code words. He uses idioms, culturally understood catchphrases, and these are all designed to engage the neshama, which is the ultimate goal of the revelation stream, of the ultimate goal of the instruction manual for life on planet Earth. So why did the Holy One choose the storytelling method of revelation? Why is this his primary way of interacting with mankind, rather than giving us a list of laws, a legal code, or a science book that tells us sequentially what all happened and how it all happened in every species and genus and category of life on the earth? Why didn't he tell us in detail, list in chronological order, what's going to happen at the, quote, end of days, if there's going to be an end of days? Why didn't he go through that process? Why did he tell us these stories, these parables? Why did he use this figurative language? Why is he reaching to our neshama as opposed to just talking to us in nephesh language? He is relationship building. He is building a relationship with us. He doesn't just want us to know facts. He wants us to know him. He wants us to know ourselves. He wants us to know why we're here. He wants us to know what things will last that we think are not that important, and what things that will not last that we think are just critical. He wants us to build a relationship with them. And how do you build a relationship with them? Any person, you build it through listening to their stories. And then they listen to your stories. And the stories bind us together. So the Holy One's into building this relationship with us, not into command and control mode. If you think he just wants to command you and order you to do things, or punish you when you do things wrong, you misunderstand. He's looking for relationships. Thousands and thousands, millions and millions, generations worth of relationships, individual, unique relationships, but all based upon who he is and who he created us to be. Stories are the methodology he uses. Stories that make us feel human, make us feel alive in an eternal sense and in a physical, personal, temporal sense, and make us feel important. Relationship is about being important to somebody else. Are you important to your Creator? Is your Creator important to you? Really? Seriously? Or is it just a thought in your head? Just an imagination of your heart? Is this really a persona relationship where he tells you stories and you listen and you tell your stories, and we call it prayer, and he listens? Stories make us feel important to the person who's telling the story or who's listening to the story. They connect us. They make a bond form between us. We live the story. We live the story together. It is as if we were there and we live the story with them. We actually transport in time back to them, and we're part of their story, even when they're telling their story. We can imagine it was us that was doing in the things that were talked about, the things that are involved. So stories connect us and bond us with one another, build this relationship, and they build empathy and trust. We seem like we feel like we know the person when they're telling a story. We know what it's all about. We understand and we empathize with them, and we just begin to trust them. And that's at least when we're telling a good storyteller. When the Creator of the universe is our storyteller, we begin to build empathy and trust through the storytelling process. Stories, they teach us critical life lessons that go far beyond any list of do's and don'ts, a to-do list of chores, or a stay away from this verboten statement on a sign says, warning, don't do this. It's more than that. These are critical life lessons. We know that if we listen and if we follow into the story, if we become involved in the story in our heart and our mind, and we begin to implement the things that happen in the story and relive the story, we're going to do well at life. We'll not make the mistakes that were made by the persons in the story, and we will learn to go far beyond where the persons in the story went. That's the idea of the story method. That's why awe and wonder are part of our mission this year, returning to childlike faith. Stories, you see, inspire us to be better than we are, to be better than we think we are, than we think we could be, to be better sons, to be better daughters, to be better spouses, to be better parents, to be better friends, to be better workers, to be better community involvement people, be better servants, be better human beings, be better. That's what stories of the Holy One do. Stories open up to us worlds of greater possibility than we had imagined, especially the Creator stories, because he has a bigger vision than mankind does. Stories open up a world of greater potential and possibilities. They illumine us as to the meaning, even to the hidden wisdom and goodness that is in the midst of seeming chaos around us. Stories, as told by the Holy One and Torah, broadcast clear and true tone beacon signals, flashing lights, beacon signals of purpose. This is your purpose. This is who you are. Of direction. This is the way to go. Walk in it. In the midst of all the din of confusing noise, soul-numbing, dissonant sounds that the world throws at us, serpents speak that the world tosses to us, ideology and philosophy and political rhetoric and religious rhetoric and hate speech and ethnocentric stuff. And all this stuff the world throws at us, it's all garbage. It's all nonsense, but there is truth. There is wisdom. There is goodness in the world. There is potential and life in the world if we can just stay in the stories of the Holy One. Stories help us to realize that we are part of something bigger and greater than ourselves, greater than the rest of the world does even have a clue about. We are here for a purpose. We have a mission. We are part of a great, eternal, grand, eternal plan of the Creator of the universe. We have a role to play in that plan, and I will not be able to resist telling you my summary of that plan: to redeem humanity as a species, bloodline by bloodline, household by household, family by family, individual by individual, as many as will come to the light, and to restore creation to its original intended state of beauty, fruitfulness, shalom, and harmonious interaction, like in Eden, to redeem humanity, to restore creation and its ecosystem to full, beautiful functioning. That's the grand plan. We have a part in that. It's so much bigger than politics. It's so much bigger than ideology. It's so much bigger than education. It's so much bigger than science. It's so much bigger than anything in this world that this world likes to talk about. So I want to now turn your attention to Proverbs chapter 9, or chapter 6, I should say, verse 20 through 23. It's four verses, basically, I guess, 4 verses that summarize our focus of walking in the light this year. The Hebrew way in which it starts is Nitzor B'nai. It's a very tender, with the sweetness of a father's voice speaking. Nitzor B'nai. B'nai is my son. And so, and Nitzor, to hold fast to diligently watch over, to guard, treasure, cherish. My son, Nitzor B'nai. My son, diligently hold on to. And what does he say? To your father's instructions. Hold on to your father's instructions. Hold them dear in your heart. And do not forsake the Torah, the instruction of a guidance, of a mentor, of your mother. Bind them, this instructions and this Torah, upon your heart continually, and tie them around your neck as an adornment, to remind yourself of who you are. And when you walk, they will lead you. When you walking in the light, remember. When you walk, they will lead you. What will lead you? The instructions will lead you. The Torah will lead you. When you sleep, they will protect you. They will watch over you and guard you. They will keep you safe in this realm of divine inspiration and wisdom. When you sleep, they will protect you. And when you awaken, they will meditate with you. They will siach. They will be your meditation. You see, next last verse, 6:23. For a mitzvah, a commandment, is a ner, is a lamp, is a candle, is burning and shining light. And the Torah is or. It is the ultimate light of creation. And derech chaim, the ways of the deeper things of life, of eternal life. These are an admonition to discipline, to musar. Well, we've talked about the fact that this year we're going to focus on Torah. In 5785, Torah as a collection of stories told by the Creator of the universe to teach us the ways of life, the more excellent ways, the ways to be a better us, the ways to be better, the more excellent ways of life. And we learn that the Holy One, we will learn at least that the Holy One is the ultimate storyteller. You see, his stories all have fascinating settings. Wow! Even from the Garden of Eden to Egypt to Israel to all the different places that he teaches us. Even in the early days of creation with the tohu vavohu of earth. Now, all of his settings are fascinating, and that's not just the settings that are fascinating. He tells these stories with a delightful mixture of this literal and figurative language, speaking to our nephesh with the literal and to our neshama with the figurative language in the parables. And his stories don't just have fascinating settings and have delightful mixtures of literal and figurative language. They also have relatable characters that we could like or hate or desire. The characters that we either love or hate, characters that are relatable, that we'd like to know or we'd like to make sure we never met again. These characters, he is the best at creating characters. And his stories, the creator's stories, that is, dazzle us with action sequences that are meaningful and suspenseful. He doesn't just tell us, and he was there, and he was thinking, and this is the way it's going to be at the end. He tells us action sequences. He gives us line upon line sequences that we see things happening, and we are caught up in the great action stories. He invites us to consider layers and layers of meaning. It's not like we ever read the story and we know it all, or we hear the story and we now know it because we've heard it. No, we know there are levels and levels and levels, a continuous, deep, endless number of levels of meaning of each story that he tells. This is his kind of storytelling. And we know that it depends on where we are when we're listening, and who we are at that moment when we're listening, and why we're there listening, as to what levels of meaning we will get. It's why every year we do this, because each year new things are revealed that were there all along, but they were there at layers we could not see and decipher. The secret wisdom is secret to us sometimes, because we are just too blind when we first started to see. So, these easy to decipher messages are there for those who are diligently seeking purpose in life. Prioritization of the real things, the true things, the good things in life. And directions as to how to have a good impact and leave a good legacy in life. To people who are open-minded, open-hearted, whose neshama is awake, who are hungry and thirsty for the things the Creator wants to say. For those messages that are layers upon layers of meaning in the stories. Those things are easy to decipher, at least for the time being. Now the issue is, can we also apply them? So it's about that time. So I have a image in my mind of being a grandfather with my grandchildren gathered around, as we do when they spend the night at our house. And they say to me, "Tell us a story. Tell us our story, Abba." And I do. And you should see their faces. Now, this is the idea of the stories that we're going to tell. So, Abba, Father, tell us the stories again that we need to know. Would you just ask him that? Abba, I'm hungry to hear your stories, to know who I am and why I'm here, to know what this world's really about and what my purpose in it really is. So, Abba, tell us. You may have told us 100 times, but Abba, tell us again this year, in 5785. Tell us again week by week and passage by passage in the Torah. Tell us who created the world we live in. And tell us when he did it, or you did it. Tell us why. Tell us why it's like it is. Tell us how the world that we see around us, the things, the creatures, the species, the flora, the fauna that we see around us, tell us how it all came into existence. The mountains, the valleys, the waterways, the seas, the oceans. The stars, the planets. Tell us how it all came into existence, and tell us how it all works together, how it doesn't fall apart and scatter in a million pieces. What holds it? Tell us what holds it together. Who holds it together? Tell us, Abba. Tell us again these stories we need to know. Tell us what life in the Garden of Eden was like. Tell us what our role or our final state will be. Tell us what our aspiration is to be like. What was life like in the early days in the Garden of Eden when you walked with man and talked with man and co-labored with man, and man was there with you What was life like in the garden? Tell us again, Abba. Tell us what it will be like one day again. And tell us, Abba, how man's spirit and body got separated from one another. How the neshama and the nefesh and the basar became working at cross purposes with each other. The flesh, the mind, will, and emotions, and the eternal spirit. How we start working at cross purposes and get out of joint and out of connection. How did that happen? What were the circumstances, and what circumstances happened that are after that pattern in all of our lives that cause our lives to be disjointed? Tell us again, Abba. Tell us why there had to be a great worldwide flood, why there have to be disasters, why there are troubles in the world, why there are wars. Tell us why. Tell us through these stories how the nations began to speak different languages from each other and think different ways and have different cultural approaches and have rage toward one another and jealousy and envy toward one another. Tell us why do the nations rage and the peoples imagine vain things? Tell us why we do whenever we lose touch with you. Abba, tell us again how you cut covenant with our ancestors, with Abraham, with Yitzhak, with Yaakov, through Moshe, with Bnei Israel, with David, through Solomon, through the prophets, through Yeshua. Tell us again how you cut covenant and what that covenant consists of and what it means and what our part in the covenant is and what your promises of the covenant are. And tell us what binds us together in this covenant. Tell us about the bond that we have that is unbreakable between us. Tell us, Father, tell us again. Tell us, Abba. Tell us about the prototype, the messianic prototype that you encoded in the stories of Joseph and his brothers. Or remind us again that that's not just a story of something happened a long time ago in the past. It's the current story of mankind and Messiah, Joseph, and his brothers. Tell us again about how you knew from the beginning how the end would be and how the things would unfold, and tell us how you had planned all along to have a remedy, a fix for the whole situation. Tell us, Abba, how our forefathers escaped the horrors of Egyptian bondage and found themselves free to find you again, to know you again, to walk with you again, to have a purpose in life again that was not dictated by a tyrant man or his minions. Tell us again, Abba. Tell us the story again about what happened while our ancestors were camped at the base of Mount Sinai. Tell us all the wonderful things that happened, the voice that spoke from heaven, the 10 words, 10 directives of life, purpose, and meaning that came forth, the 10 identity-defining factors of who we are that change us, make us different than the raging nations and the peoples that imagine of anything. Tell us again about what happened at Mount Sinai and how those things marked us and changed us and define us in all of our generations and in all of our conduct in our generation. Tell us again why you had us build you a tabernacle while we were at Sinai. A holy place, a sanctified space that you could inhabit and dwell with us on earth. Tell us what it was like when you dwelt among us in our own camp. Remind us, Father. Tell us the stories and tell us what happened in us and through us as a result of you abiding in that tabernacle, in our presence, in our camp. Tell us the stories again, Abba. Tell us what Moshe had to say after spending 40 years of walking with you and talking with you in the way a man talks to his friend. Tell us what it would be like to have that level of interaction and even deeper interactions. Tell us, Father. Tell us again. Tell us the stories. Well, that's what our series of 5785 is going to be all about. Walking in the light. Discovering the hidden wisdom encoded within the timeless stories of the Torah. Come on the journey with me. I'll see you, God, Holy One willing, every Saturday morning about this time. Blessings to you See you in a few moments, hopefully, to discuss the first parsha of Torah, the first installment, the opening lines, Bereshit. Shabbat Shalom.